So welcome everybody to June Stronger Together Get Together. And I should have checked actually, but this is the 13th. I believe this is the 13th. It's either the 13th or the 14th, Stronger Together Get Together. So absolutely amazing. So I thought it was a really good time to invite the lovely Sophie to share some marketing strategies, because even if you had a marketing strategy or a plan 18 months ago, 2 years ago, then it probably got put to one side, even thrown out the window. And it's a good time now to have another look at that marketing strategy or create one. Things have changed significantly. And I don't know if how you guys are feeling at the moment, but actually it's really, really busy out there. And actually the risk of not having the work has been replaced by actually the risk of being overwhelmed by work. So it's always good to make hay while the sun shines, of course, but it is a really good time now to have a look at your marketing strategy and really make the most of the next 12 months or the remaining 6 months of this year. So I thought it was a really good time to invite Sophie to share her words of wisdom with us. Why Sophie? Well, Sophie is wonderful. Sophie is absolutely brilliant. She doesn't mince her words. She's very forthright, which I absolutely love. Couple of decades of experience in marketing, working with some big names, the National Trust included, but she also works with small business owners as well, helping them with their marketing strategy. And Sophie is amazing for another reason. Some of you may or may not know this, but Sophie was battling cancer all the way through COVID last year, and what she has achieved in her business is truly remarkable. Even more remarkable knowing that she has been having all of that go on as well. So it's without further ado, I am going to hand over to Sophie, who is going to share 5 marketing strategies that are working in the current climate.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so Julia's done a great introduction. I am a PowerPoint queen, I'm afraid. So we will be going into PowerPoint. I think before I start, it'd be quite interesting to understand what people think of as marketing strategy. So anyone want to sort of give a shout out as to what you think marketing strategy is? Anyone?
I think of it as the channels you're going to use to promote your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of social media straight away as well.
Okay, brilliant. Anyone else?
I think it's a bit bigger than that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I talked over the top of somebody.
Yeah, you did, Charlie.
No, that's fine. Go, Charles.
I think it's about who you are, what you want to sell, why you exist, why people should buy it, why they should buy it from you. And then you need to figure out how on earth you're going to get hold of the people and deliver that message that you've just figured out.
Yep. Okay, cool. So yes, it is probably more Charles than Fiona, although there are many a marketer who will tell you, Fiona, what you've said is the marketing strategy. So one of the things I do is very much focus on the whole picture rather than just the tactics. And that's what we're going to go through today. So I'm just going to share my screen. It is both in some ways. For me, I'll be honest that the communication side is the planning side more than a strategy, but you will hear a lot of marketers talk about a marketing strategy being the digital marketing tactics. So what I'm going to go through is we're talking about 5 marketing strategies for the current climate. So what I'm first going to say is the current climate is the current climate, and what we have to do is look at marketing strategies that are my computer now and forever. So we are in a current climate that is very has changed, and for a lot of people their businesses have changed. We've all had to adapt, we've all had to move, and I could have spent this whole thing telling you about what's happening in the market and how you need to do that. The thing is, for me, is that you know what's happening in your market. I can't tell you exactly what's happening in your market. What I can do is help you give with 5 key things that I think you need to think about when you're doing your marketing. And they are split into the foundations and then the rest, as it were. So there's 5 things. And this marketing strategy that I'm telling you about, it doesn't just happen now, it happens all the time. So this process almost is something you should be reviewing on an ongoing basis. What's going on within your business? We're all small business owners, and our businesses change. Certainly mine has. Over the 4 years that I've been going, it's changed. It's gone from one thing to another, and it's kind of, particularly if you're new, those who are new, as you settle in, you'll find that you get specialisms that actually you much prefer, or things that you kind of think, God, I can't be doing that anymore. So it's about having this now and forever. And these are the 5 key things. If anyone's got any questions, pop them into the chat. I can't see the chat, but we will go through them afterwards. I'm quite happy to do that.
Sophie,
so I think
can I just point out, you've got your sharing screen, which shows the next slide up instead of your presentation screen.
How do I do the other? How do I swap it?
You just share slides and then go to the one that's the main screen. Perfect.
That worked. Thank you very much, Fiona. Yeah, you don't want to see all my slides. I'd rather you didn't. Okay, so building the foundations. So these are the first 3, and these are the absolutely critical ones, is what I would say. So it's all about knowing your objectives, knowing who your customer is, and knowing your positioning. And without these, ultimately, whatever you do, you're building on sand. So if you don't put these in place, and they are the boring side, I'm not going to pretend they're the exciting side, because the exciting side is the tactics and all the pretty pictures and, you know, oh, look, let's do this and let's do that. This is the dull side of marketing. It's exciting for me because I love it, but for most people it's quite dull. But these are absolutely critical. If you don't know your objectives, your customer and your positioning, everything else might as well just kind of fly out the window because you're guessing. So if we start first with objectives, I know we talk about smart objectives, but really, we do need to think about smart objectives with everything that we do. I tend to put a timeline on it, and some of the examples don't necessarily have a timeline on it, but you do need to think about a timeline. When are you going to achieve what, by what date? Now, often with marketing, it's quite good to do everything at the beginning of the year. So you do your planning a month or 2 months before you start your year, so that you can then plan everything through as to how you're going to meet your business objectives. But you know, you can start this at any time, but you then go, I'm going to do this by the end of X. So make sure they're smart. And there are 3 types of objectives within marketing, and we always start with the business objective. It's absolutely critical that you have your business objectives in place so that you can do your marketing objectives. Without your business objectives, your marketing objectives mean nothing. And again, small businesses, some of you will probably be all over this, but there's a lot of us that aren't. You know, what do you want to achieve? If you don't have what do you want to aim for? So, for example, you could be aiming for 3K of sales per month, but you don't not increase staff. So you need to think about, like, what do I want to achieve, and how do I want to achieve that? And then you need to look at your marketing objectives, like what is going to achieve that business objective. And I'll show you some examples in a minute. And then that goes down to communications. So everything ladders up to your business objectives. Everything you are doing needs to ladder up to your business objectives. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of time, ultimately. And that doesn't need to be as business objectives for this year. It can be 5 years, depending on what you need to do and what you're aiming for. But you do need to start with the business objectives. The way this works can be like this. So your business objective is to achieve 3K of sales per month without increasing your staff. So then your marketing objectives would be get more customers spending more. And you then need to look at your products and go, right, okay, well, how can I do that? Oh, I'm going to do that by increasing demand for online products versus one-to-one consulting, for example. That is your marketing objective. Your communication objective is then to increase awareness of your online offering by creating a series of thought leadership webinars. So everything ladders up basically to the top, but you always have different things. So marketing objectives are sort of much wider. How are you going to do this? You want to cut more customers spending more, fundamentally. And then the communications objective is, what is each piece of communication trying to do? So that you then go, right, okay, my communication needs to be, I need to do social media. It needs to ladder up, it needs to communicate all my thought leadership webinars so people increase their awareness of my online offering. When they're increasing their awareness of what online offering, those customers will be aware of that, so then they will spend more, because they will spend more with me on doing online as well as one-to-one. That in turn will lead to 3Ks of extra sales per month. And I apologize if I'm kind of slightly teaching you to suck eggs, but it's kind of really important that we do. And I think the other thing is, when you look at your marketing objectives, you need to look at your funnel. Okay, and we talk about the funnel. Everyone that I talk to, and you may be an exception, but most people I talk to are all obsessed about this awareness and getting their leads in the top of the funnel. Reality is that costs a lot of money, and it may not be necessary. So I've worked with a number of clients, over the time. One of my first clients, he was obsessed. He said, I need more people coming in. I need more people coming in. It turned out, when I looked at his data, that he was having plenty, considering he was a tiny company, tiny fish, and competing against very big US companies. He was doing fine in terms of getting people in. What he wasn't doing was converting. Only 0.2% of the people that were coming in and trialing his product were purchasing. So therefore, we had to completely change the marketing strategy or the marketing plan around, okay, we need to do the conversion. And I'm finding that with quite a lot of my customers. You don't always need leads in the top. They're not always the right thing to do. So make sure you are aware where your marketing needs to really work and where you want to spend your money, because you can spend a lot of money doing SEO, but if SEO is not, actually if leads isn't what you're needing, if they're dropping out because once they've trialed your product, then you can spend £10,000 on getting those leads and they're still not going to get the sales. So that's a key thing. The second one, so that's the first one, is objectives, know your objectives. The second one is know your customer. And this, again, these three are really, really critical. And know your customer. I'm going to bang on about this. If you don't know your customer, you don't know anything about you. You're not going to build your business. And this is one of the things I really, really advocate, is talking to your customers. If you don't know your customer, you're not going to be able to know how to appeal to them. You're not going to be able to sell quickly. There's a whole heap of things that you're not going to be able to do. Julia has an amazing book that is all about creating your avatar. So what you're doing through knowing your customer is creating an avatar. I advocate having that avatar, a piece of paper somewhere in your office opposite you, going, right, this is the person I'm talking to. I've got to remember it's the person I'm talking to. And you've got to keep going on, and who is it I'm talking to? Remember. I have a client who's struggling to do that, and they literally have done an A2 board that is now in their office, so they have to look at it all the time. And the way you get to know your customer is actually talking to your customers. I advocate talking to your raving fans, and a lot of people go, oh, why do you want to do that? They'll just tell you positive things, and that's exactly why I advocate doing it, because fundamentally they want to work with you. They love working with you. But why is it that they love working with you? And I found that really, really powerful with a lot of my clients. I had a solicitor, employment solicitor, who just went, oh, I'm just an employment solicitor. And actually, by talking to his raving customers, we discovered he talked plain English. He didn't sit on the fence. He was just really efficient. So that meant we could really drive all his marketing to those three things. That's how he created his uniqueness. And what it also does is also tell you kind of where they go for their marketing. So, you may find through this, actually, all they do is read the national press. So actually, why are you advertising, doing SEO, if all they do is read the national press? They're not interested. They don't go on Google. They're not interested in finding your service on Google. They'll never do it. They'll find it on the national press. It's an extreme example, but it's, again, what it does by talking to your customers, it really helps you to create this avatar that you can use, and it helps you understand where people are finding you, why they like you, and also can save you quite a lot of money, because fundamentally, if everyone's coming through word of mouth, why are you doing lots of spending on advertising? You guys are all small businesses, okay? So I have a real practical view on budget. You can spend a lot of money on marketing and you can end up in quite a lot of debt. I've got prospects who I've talked to who've ended up, they're not making a profit on a service business because they're spending so much. And actually, you need to understand your customer. If it's all by one referral, then stop spending lots of money on PR, for example. If you don't have that many customers, which some of you don't, do some research on Google. The architects among you, Reba is absolutely fantastic for a lot of this information. I used it when I did all the marketing for Absolute Architecture and did their strategy. And then there's other big bodies that will do research. So there's a lot of government research that goes on. I work with a glamping company. We had no information on the customer. I looked it up and it turns out Sports England have spent thousands and thousands of pounds on segmenting customer databases, and that gives you all this information. So it gives you your avatar in one. So, you know, if you don't have customers, because you're new in business, then look on Google. It's absolutely fab. So then the third one is know your positioning. Now, again, this is probably teaching a lot of you to suck eggs, but positioning is like putting your product in context. For those that are new in business, your positioning is really important. You are not unique in the market. So I'm not going to pretend this is your unique selling position. We don't do that much anymore in marketing because fundamentally you're not unique. What you want to do is find a differentiator. And this is where understanding your customers and talking to them helps you find your differentiator. How do you stand out? How do I stand out amongst all those marketers? Because there are blooming hundreds, thousands of them. How do I stand out and how do I find a difference? By talking to my customers and understanding like that actually the pain point is a marketing manager or whatever it is. It also means that sales are so much easier. They'll come to you much easier. It helps you to find your messaging. So make sure that, you know, when you're talking about your messaging, then you can, you know, and working out what you're going to say, this defines it. It also drives product development. So for example, if you kind of realize your positioning, for me, my positioning is your marketing department. So therefore my positioning is about putting you in control of your marketing. That made me think I'm a strategist first and foremost, but actually my clients need other products. They need help mentoring marketing managers. They need help putting their communications plan together. They need help managing their agencies. So it just helps you kind of really think about what the products you need are, and then it fundamentally underpins your marketing. But it starts with your true competition. And this is always a challenge for many people. Okay, for all of us, we tend to get all that. Our competition is that company down the road that does the same thing as me. So for your architects, or Absolute Architecture is our competitor. It is always worth being aware about what people who do something similar to you are doing. However, they are not your true competitor. Your true competitor is the competitor in your customer's mind. Now, for a lot of us, because we're small businesses, that will be doing it themselves. Or it could be actually doing absolutely bugger all about it because I can't face thinking about it. So when you're looking at it, or it could be something else. So it could be an Excel spreadsheet. So it's very much about understanding what the competition is. One of the customers that I'm working with at the moment, she's an accountant. She set up because she realized there was no management accounting systems around for her client, for small businesses. You could get that in a big business. That meant big business couldn't, small businesses couldn't grow. So she therefore found her competition in, you know, Excel spreadsheets basically, and how she could put that information together. And then what you need to do is isolate your uniqueness within this. So what do you deliver that these alternatives don't? So, you know, if they're doing it themselves, similar to this, they're doing it themselves. Is there an Excel spreadsheet that they're using that you can do it? Or, you know, why are you better for helping them? You know, does it save them time? Does it save them money actually in the long run? You know, how does it help them? And again, you know, the whole point of knowing your customers, you need to understand their pain and understand what it is. Now, here again, think about your features and capability, not about the benefits and value everything gives. Just get down to the nitty gritty of what your business offers. And then my big thing is make sure you can prove it. So I had one client who said, I can do this. And I went, okay, fine, you can do this. Are you delivering it? And how are you going to deliver it? He went, oh. So don't ever promise a Rolls Royce if you've only got a Ford Escort. Be proud of what your product is, and don't try and pretend to be something you're not, because the minute you try and pretend to be something you're not, well, you will ultimately, your business will die. So yeah, think about that. And then when you've done that, you think about the so what. So I have a big thing of so what, so what, so what, so what, so what. Who gives a toss? Okay, so we're all very proud of our businesses, let's be honest. I am very proud of my business. I think, oh yeah, this is brilliant. And then I have to sort of check myself and go, right, okay, when I'm going out with some message or other, and I have to go, right, okay, does my customer really care at all? Is this answering anything that helps them? So, you know, what's the product? I work with a natural beauty product, and it's kind of like, oh, this is the product, you know, is this, it's amazing. Okay, so what? It's got organic. Well, so what? So there's lots of products. Well, okay, so it's developed by a scientist who is top of her field. Okay, so that's interesting. But so what? Well, it means that she can produce products that are the same as synthetic products. Okay, right, that's a bit more interesting. Okay, so what? So that means that you can use natural products on your skin and have the same impact of getting that youthful glow as you would if you used Clinique. Right, there we go. That is something that is unique because she's a specialist. She can provide it in natural. It can give you, and my pain is that I want to use natural, not synthetic. So that's answering the pain, and that's something you need to look at. And what that brings it together, when you bring it together, this is an example from an old client of mine. They've changed their positioning so I can share it. So this was a company, a management consulting company that was particularly specialist in deep diving into problems and finding a solution to that problem. So it was aimed at SMEs that felt that they had an insurmountable problem. So when I talked to their customers, what their customers were saying was, well, actually what they really helped me do is I didn't know where to start. This company came in, they did everything I needed to do it. They turned it around quickly, and I could, you know, I got this problem solved, and it was simple, but I couldn't see past the woods for the trees. And then it was like, and I could have spent lots of money. Their competitors were mid to large consultancy, and so therefore we kind of bring a positioning into solving the perceived impossible. So they're not unique. A lot of management consultants out there, but what they did do was have something that they could solve. So that's how we did, and that's what you do in Producer. So that's very much the thing. So those are the three foundations that are really, really important in marketing and will take you through. You need to keep on top of that all times. In marketing, traditionally, you do it on a year-by-year basis. You know, people talk about 5 years, but fundamentally 5 years is too far in advance. We can't see that, particularly within small businesses. You could do it every 6 months, because if you're growing, you will want to, you know, everything seems to change every 5 minutes at the moment. We know that. So just keep an eye on it. And, you know, it's another reason why I say keep that person in front of you, because if it starts to change, you can do a few adjustments. I'm sure Julia, so as I say, Julia's got a book as to how to do this. I would recommend on top of that to do the customer interviews, but she can put that in the post. So then we need to look at the rest. And this is where we go into much more of what you said, Fiona, because it still is part of a marketing strategy. It's not wrong, but it's part of the communications and everything else as a whole. So we need to look at the rest, and we need to look beyond promotion. So one of the problems of marketing, and it is why our industry fundamentally is in dire straits, is that we just look at promotion because it's all the pretty pictures, it's all the nice things that everyone wants. It's the touchy-feely stuff. But fundamentally, marketing comes down to four things, the 4 Ps. And it is, the 4 Ps have been there for a reason. There's all sorts of other ones that have come up, 7 Ps, blah. Fundamentally, there's the 4 Ps. It's your product. If you know your customer, then you know what products they want. You know what place, so do they want it online? Do they want it in a cafe? Do they want it, you know, where do they want you to sell the product? They know the price and they know the promotion, and it drives the promotion. And I think one of the things I would say is, like, you kind of, price is one of these are, again, the boring things of marketing. So it's why we don't kind of focus on them. But things like price, if you don't know your customer, and this is why it should be owned by marketing, because they're the owner of the customer. If you don't know your customer, then you don't know what price. I was told recently, I don't know if any of you know Mrs. Hinch. She's on Instagram, she's a cleaner, basically. She does cleaning products. Okay, her price, you'd kind of think, oh, well, Instagram, I want to get on her Instagram because then I'll get reach. Okay, she now charges £24,000 for 3 stories on Instagram. Okay, now for those who don't know Instagram, a story goes up for 24 hours and then disappears. She is managing to do that because of everything, because she knows her customer, because that is demand. Okay, we can talk about price and go, oh, well, I'm making this. So the base cost of the product is this. I'm going to put on 10% because that's traditionally what you put on. And so my price is going to be this. If you know your customer, you can push the price up to what the value they think it should be. And this is why price should become within promotion. And it's similar with place. If you sell through distributors, actually, and that's where they find it, then go through distributors rather than trying to do direct to consumer, for example. And it also drives your product. And things beyond sales activation. So we all focus on sales. We need sales, sales, sales. One of the little nuggets I would say to you is think about your brand as well. So with the architect client that I work with, actually they're getting their leads in. So all we're doing is we do a baseline brand awareness. How do we get our brand out? How do we show what we're doing? How do we enhance the website to make sure that we're going up with what the business is doing? And the thing is, that is a long term. So for a small business, that's quite hard because it is a lot of, basically you don't get direct return. But unless you're building your brand, you do need to build that brand, be it through LinkedIn or whatever channels, because that will lead to long-term sales. If you do promotion and down and up and down and really push specific things, then they're important for creating sales spikes, but they will not grow your brand and they will not lead to long-term sales. I'm quite a B2C person, but like, for example, on Penguin, we used to do 3 promotions a year. Yes, we got massive sales spike, but fundamentally it didn't change the underlying sales on the bottom. What changed the underlying sales was the work we did on the website, creating all this stuff for kids. And that is when we started to see sales go up. So it's really important. And then the other thing is more is better. So in tactics, I have a bit of a thing, digital is not king, okay? You need to look through the wide thing. I come from a traditional background. I'm an old school person. I did my whole initial training was doing direct mail. I did do email marketing, I will say, in 1999. We bought the business. We crashed our whole company servers because we had a virus because it wasn't sophisticated in those days. However, I am traditionally a direct marketer, and I really believe in a whole package. Particularly in B2B, it's difficult at the moment because everyone's working from home. But within business to business, an email will get lost quicker than anything else. So you could send emails out, it's lovely. But if you want to try and build awareness or anything like that, unless someone's already aware of you, they're not going to look out for your email. However, if you send something in the post, they may well see it and go, oh, what's that? Because post is quite rare. It may be worth looking at advertising, press advertising. Don't get me wrong, digital is really important. It's cheap and cheerful and it's really measurable, okay? But do not kind of close your mind to other things. And then also be very careful of making sure that you have 2 or 3. The effectiveness of a campaign is much higher if you have 2 or more channels focusing on it. So that might mean that what you need to do is focus in a small area. So again, I'm going to talk about another of my B2C clients, but it's kind of quite relevant as you grow. And this is when you get to be a bigger. He's desperate to do TV advertising. Fine, okay. But what I said to him is, if you want to do TV advertising within your budget, you need to go to one area. You need to make sure it's the area that you are stocked in. You need to then do outdoor advertising within that. You then need to support it with social media within that area. And you need to get Tesco's, who you're in, to do a promotion as well. Then you will have an impact. But if you just try and do a TV advert that goes across everywhere, you're not going to have impact. So if you want to ever use an expensive media, think about making everything focused on that one area, and it is geographical then. So if you are based in Newbury, for example, you could do a Newbury thing. And don't underestimate things like radio. Bigger, Brighter, Bolder. I'm part of Bigger, Brighter, Bolder, one of the cults. You know, one of the guys tried radio and he ended up having massive success through radio because it was cheap and cheerful at the time. Everyone was at home listening to the radio, and I think he managed to get about 10 or 15 sales from a £200 spend. So don't underestimate some of the traditional channels. Then last but not least is budgets and tracking. My suggestion is always to have a budget. Now, I could say to you, have 10% of what your business needs to be, what you want your business to be. That's what people will say. Okay, you're a small business, you're not going to spend that. I know that. All the small businesses I've worked with very rarely do, unless you want a massive quick trajectory and you're prepared to go into the red. Or you're getting investment. You know, there's a way of sort of doing it. So set a budget to what you want, okay? Put what you think you can spend, what you think you can genuinely afford. If you can afford lots, then brilliant. Be careful though. When you do put a budget and when you get someone to help, put some tracking in place. Go back to those objectives. What objectives do you want to meet? You know, it's all very well having social, but if social doesn't get you to where you want it to be, you know, social has a number of objectives. It has awareness and it has sales driving, and it will have, you know, it has various kind of different areas where you do your funnel. When you're doing your objectives, you work out where do you need people to come into that funnel. Then get the people who are doing things like your social to work towards that. If you give them objectives like, actually, I need £2,000 worth of sales from Facebook advertising. Okay, you give them that objective, they've got something to work towards and you've got something to measure them against, because you can't moan to someone about the fact that your social media is not working when you haven't actually told them what you want it to do. So really, really important to do that. And beware of vanity metrics. So one of the things that you can kind of go is like, oh, we've got this reach and we've got this. Now, as you get bigger, you will need that reach because you need awareness and that reach. But as a small company, ultimately you need sales. So like, make sure it's not just some, oh, we're increasing likes on posts. Okay, that's, if I'm absolutely honest, that's completely pointless. A completely pointless target because it just makes you feel good. You're better off having likes of my page. So actually my objective is likes on my page. So if any of you use Facebook for advertising, don't use LinkedIn for advertising just as a one out there. It's pointless. It's really expensive and it doesn't get the results. So if you do want to do advertising and Facebook is a good one, then use Facebook because it's a really good one. But within that, find something where they've actually got to work to get you those likes. So page likes is a really good one because Facebook has to work quite hard. The cost is more per like, but you're then growing your community. So always think about something that is going to have an impact on your business rather than just making you feel good. And those are the 5 strategies to go forward. So make sure you've got your objective and lead with the business. Understand your marketing and communications objectives. Don't get stuck on driving leads. That may well be other problems. Really understand your audience. I can't emphasize that enough. I really can't. I do offer a service where I will ring all your customers. Top 10 customers is generally where I do, and then I do a report on that. Put the positioning and make sure you understand who the real competitor is. Think about your 4 Ps. Is your product fulfilling the need? What price are people willing to pay, not just what you're prepared to, what your calculations say they should be. Where do they want to buy for? And promotions more than just digital, but also think about brand as well as sales. And then allocate a budget, track everything you do and brief against key objectives. Anyone you use externally have key objectives. This is what I want to create. And that's even with creative as well. So I just want to do a quick one on creative. We're very good at using Canva, all of us, okay? But my recommendation is, as you grow and as you get bigger and as you have the income, start to use professionals, because they will make all the difference to your marketing. If you use really shoddy creative, people will not believe in your business. So you do need to be very careful about creative. Creative is as important, in fact, is one of the most important things in making your marketing work. So it needs to look good. Don't do PowerPoint presentations looking a bit rubbish. I know that's easier said than done. Use Canva, because at least they can look pretty.